Well, hello everyone. I'm live on a Saturday just before lunchtime for me, and I haven't done just an Ask Me Anything here on the main channel in a very long time. On the main channel, I think I've only done like 2 live streams in the last year, which I didn't even realize that because I do weekly live streams on Patreon. So I did 40 live streams over there. So my brain's like, I've done live streams. And then I looked at it and I went, I haven't taken that show on the road and talked with you guys over here. So, with all of that said, I just kind of want to dive into it, start answering some questions. If you send in a super chat, I'll try to answer every single one of those. I'm running a one-man show here, so I hopefully won't miss anything. I got a second tab open on my second monitor to try and track those sorts of things a little bit better, but trying to talk and read at the same time, and the software's not the best at sorting out super chats and things like that, so mistakes can be made. And finally, if you do like these sorts of Q&As, if you want to support my channel, consider joining over on Patreon. Join at any level, as little as $2 per month, $21 per year. You can get access to all the exclusive content over there. And like I said, last year I did over 40 live streams. So if you like this sort of thing, and there's like 15 people in them, so it's like just me talking to a group of 10, 15 people. If you like this sort of thing, consider joining. With all that said, we got a lot of questions already, and we only started 1 minute ago. Luke with the super chat, thank you so much. Hey Sean, curious if you've seen the leaks for the Amazon Fallout series, and if you're a fan of the series in general. As a massive fan of the franchise, I'm very excited for what I'm seeing. So kind of 2 things in there. Am I a fan of Fallout, and have I followed the leaks? I don't follow any leaks. I avoid leaks because I don't want anything spoiled for me. So I guess a couple weeks back, the script for Ant-Man leaked. I'm not gonna read that. I'm gonna avoid that. I even have been in some videos about other things and people started posting about it. I was like, oh, I don't want to hear. Get off this video. I don't want to hear it. So I don't follow any leaks. I avoid all leaks when at all possible. And then as for the Fallout part, I've never played a Fallout game. I have no experience with Fallout. I have no knowledge of Fallout whatsoever. Let me look this up real quick. The series, I believe... No, wrong one. So I barely know what it's about. Like, I've seen the different memes, graphics, things like that, but I know very little. All right, yeah, so the TV show is the thing that put it most on my map, because I haven't played the games, is that it's being produced by Jonah Nolan, and Lisa Joy. Nolan is the same Nolan family that we all know. Christopher Nolan's brother, who wrote Dark Knight Rises with him, Interstellar, and then he invented the show Person of Interest 10 years ago, a show I really liked, and then Westworld, a show that's kind of all over the place, but at times I loved Westworld. And Lisa Joy is, I think, his wife, but also writing, producing partner. And they're doing Fallout. So that's the reason that Fallout is on my radar, is because one of them Nolan brothers is working on it. So I'm curious. I want to see what this thing is. But I haven't played any Fallout whatsoever, and I definitely don't follow leaks. Super Chat 123 Rock fan. Would you want to see a Harry Potter reboot in the style of How to Train Your Dragon? I think it would allow them to do things the original series couldn't do. So over on my second channel, Sean Chandler Plus, I've been posting clips from my Patreon live streams, and someone asked, because there's rumors that they were going to do a reboot. Warner Brothers wants to reboot Harry Potter. And the short answer is, I just think it's too soon, because those movies are too beloved, and besides a little bit of CGI in the first couple movies, they've aged wonderfully. The fans love them. So I don't think, even going animated, I don't think that's different enough worth doing. I think you need to wait longer before you decide to do something new with Harry Potter. And right along those same lines, someone also asked in that same live stream, what if they made it a TV show? That I was interested in, because when you get into the later books, they just had to condense them so much. Even if someone hasn't read like the 5th book, you're watching the movie and you can tell they're speeding through things. My wife's read all the books 1,000 times. She's always telling me everything they left out, and like, you know, her least favorite of the Harry Potter movies is Half-Blood Prince, but that's her favorite book. and they just had to cut so much out of it, so it lost something in translation. So if instead of a 2.5 hour movie, you had a 5-6 hour season, you can bring something new to the table. You get to spend more time in it. Like those early books that were translated pretty directly because they're much shorter books, you can maybe spend a little bit more time fleshing out the world, and in the later ones you concluded everything. But I don't think going into animation style, that's not different enough in my mind for what you'd need to do. The Disney Nerd, will you go see Titanic on the big screen to celebrate its 25th anniversary? I got a problem with this one, because I was planning on doing secret date night. My wife is one of, like, how did Titanic become the highest grossing film of all time? My wife and all her friends. She saw it 4 or 5 times in the theater. That's the movie she saw in the theater most times. So I was like, going to be awesome husband, take her out, because they're re-releasing it, not at the actual 25th anniversary of December, but in February for Valentine's Day. So I was going to do Valentine's date. And then she's like, oh yeah, I'm going to go with my high school friend. We went to go see it 5 times together. It's like, oh, I missed my opportunity. Like, oh no. So I'm going to try to. That's certainly on my plan, is to do something like that. But my wife already has plans to go see it, so she messed up my amazing plans that I had come up with. Billy Bob, do you think Ant-Man 3 will take down Avatar at the weekly box office? Oh, without question. Without question. I think it might even go down before that. It's possible just because of small declines. But by the, when you get to Ant-Man and the Wasp, the movie's going to open to $100 million, and Avatar's going to make like 15. Like, on the weekly level, it will destroy it. Sebastian, what was the first film you watched? I don't actually know offhand. Like, the first rated R movie I saw was Bloodsport. I remember, like, early memories are seeing Top Gun with my family, getting kicked out during the kissing scene. Star Trek 4, getting freaked out when the probe showed up, and seeing Star Trek 5 in the theater, driving cross-country from Texas to California, and we stopped at a theater with one screen and had a balcony, and we were the first to buy tickets, and if they didn't sell 20 tickets, they wouldn't show the movie. And so we were sitting there counting every head that came in to make sure that we'd be able to see the movie, because if they didn't sell enough tickets, we wouldn't get to see the movie. Nymph asks, video idea, top 20 favorite media, movie, TVs, and games. So combining it all together, TV, movies, and games. That's interesting. That would be tough, though. That is so tough. It's tough to just pick your top 20 favorite movies. But when you start combining things together, that is a tricky one to pull off. I think about it, because there's something to that's just different enough that kind of pulls things together and comparing media, but that's also what makes it so difficult to do. Vinny, do you agree with Mia Goth in regards to how the Academy treats the horror genre? Generally speaking, I would say yes. Generally speaking, it's a genre that tends to be looked down on until recently with elevated horror, where it's socially conscious horror, where that's tackling different issues in society right now. And then that brand of horror gets more praise and celebration. Even kind of one of the questions in here, someone's talking about Nope being snubbed. And that plays into Jordan Peele has made elevated horror. And to horror fans, that's very frustrating. That, wait a minute, these are movies that we love that have moved us in the ways that other movies have moved other people. But if you don't add in social commentary, our movies can't be great. And if you've seen Pearl, I'm not bananas for X or Pearl, but that performance of like just an unhinged crazy person losing it, like just the last shot that it's kind of been memed of her just staring at the camera. That shot lasts like 2 or 3 minutes of her just giving this creepy grin at the camera. It's wild. Tiddish, I'm very sorry if I mispronounced your name. I do not know how to pronounce your name. I'm sorry about that. Which cut of T2 and Aliens do you prefer? Thoughts on the 4K Blu-rays and love all the way from India. So I don't own either one of them on 4K. Well, excuse me. I don't. I think I have Terminator. I might have Terminator 2 on, but I don't have Aliens. I have the box set, the Blu-ray box set with all the awesome features. So I can't really comment on that one. And I'm not very good at commenting on those things in general because my eyes are terrible. Which cut of T2 and Aliens do you prefer? I normally watch the theatrical cuts. Sometimes when I'm in the mood, I'll throw on the extended cuts. The extended cuts are great companions that flesh out some details, make some elements better. In the case of T2, you get a funny grin from Arnold. Get some more detail. Aliens in particular, you actually get to see Newt and her family before everything goes down. That adds something important. There's a couple more details about kind of the tension. I think the pacing on each is a little bit better in the theatrical cuts, and that's why they trimmed them down. But if you love those movies and haven't watched the extended cuts, they are definitely worth watching. Each of them are about 20 minutes longer and add some stuff in there. And with T2, there's actually a lot more deleted scenes that I don't have on most of the Blu-rays, DVDs I currently don't have some of these scenes, but I've seen a bunch of other stuff about the T-1000 losing his abilities and a bunch of stuff he did. They had one of the earliest extended cuts, wide. Back in the 90s, movies were all pan and scan. Almost everything was pan and scan. They crop off the edges, like the widescreen format isn't what they had, and our TVs were boxes, so they fit it to the boxes. One of the first ones I ever saw that was actually widescreen and extended cut and had special features as a VHS tape was Terminator 2, and it had a bunch of stuff I've never seen anywhere else. Eternal Dolphin, do you think Nope was a snub at the Oscars? I wouldn't say it was a snub because I wasn't crazy about the movie Nope. I liked it. Thumbs up, and I think I stand by that. But it wasn't a movie that was beloved by everyone. A lot of people didn't think it worked. A lot of people thought it was kind of weird. A lot of the metaphors there's too many kind of layered on top of each other, so something got lost in the mix. So I wouldn't call Nope a snub because it just wasn't universally praised enough, and there weren't enough people that thought it went absolutely bananas for it. N. Smith, if you could design your own DCEU, how would you organize the movies leading up to the first Justice League movie, and which characters would be in it? Okay, so I'm assuming I'm doing my DC universe. I've got a clean slate. We're not worried about cleaning up the mess of the past continuity. I'm not worried about a universe with fans that are polarized and they want the Snyderverse and they want the air. I don't have to worry about that. I get to do my own universe, clean slate. What I would do is I would do a heavily integrated from the start TV movies universe. In year number 1, we drop a Superman movie and we drop a Batman TV show. HBO, not CW. We're not going to the CW, and I'm not talking about that. I'm not even talking about Disney Plus they haven't really cracked the code besides like Andor of getting some of this stuff right across the board for a show. I'm talking about like good Game of Thrones. I'm talking about these first 2 episodes of Last of Us. That type of like give them the money, the creative freedom to do it right, and it's designed to run parallel with this start of Superman. So you're number 1, you boom, make a mark. We've got a new epic Superman. We have this awesome Batman TV show. I think Batman lends himself much better to TV because he's a detective. He's just a human. He has an awesome rogues gallery, and Gotham itself is this interesting place that you want to spend a lot of time in. And when you do movies, it inherently needs, it like has to be 2 hours. So if you want to have big action, plus you want to have a villain, you have to do the spectacle. There's only so much you can do, and I think Batman, with so many great villains, an awesome city, I want to spend more time there. I want to have a great mystery. I want to see more of the Rogues Gallery and not just the Joker over and over again and just the main ones. And you can do that if you do a series. Like I said, HBO quality series linked with the movie universe. And then year 2, let's do Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Flash, like bring in some of the other ones. And so you have each of them introduced, and maybe have just a little bit of crossover in them, just a little bit. Like MCU Phase 1, little references to kind of tie it together, build that connective tissue. You know, people talking about, you don't want to just copy MCU. Like, not really copying the idea of introduce everyone before you team them up. Like, that's not exactly like, wow, where'd Kevin Feige come up with the idea of like, you should actually introduce people, understand who they are before putting them in conflict and teaming them up. Like, this is basic stuff, but do that. And then year 3 or 4, maybe give us 2-3 seasons of Batman where he starts being interested in Superman, maybe give us Man of Steel, Superman 2, and then do in year 3 or 4 a Justice League for more. Everyone's like set up. But have, like I said, Batman is a TV show. And I don't know who else I have in mind. Like, my mind always gravitates towards Green Arrow because I think Green Arrow also lends himself well to a TV show, and it did for a couple of seasons. So maybe something like that. But you have some of them that are like ground level, street level, crime fighting, mystery solving. Superman, I don't think lends himself to TV very well. While I've enjoyed Smallville, I grew up with Lois and Clark, grew up with some of the other things. He's too powerful, therefore you need a movie-level threat for it to be interesting. That's my pitch. I talked on that one way too long. You got me excited. Me and a friend of mine back literally like 2008 sat down and mapped out a 8-season timeline for a Batman TV show. So it's something I've wanted to talk about forever. M3 Blue, can you cover anime reviews? I'm just not really into anime. It's not my thing. So I've reviewed a couple anime on my channel when some things have been released. It's just not my thing. So the bag of tricks that you like me applying to where we have shared interest, it doesn't work if I go and talk about anime. It just wouldn't work. So Lucas, did you see the Fallout with Jenna Ortega? It was my favorite movie of 2022. No, I'm not even sure what movie you're referring to. I guess she had a very busy year last year because she was in a ton of stuff. But I haven't even heard discussion of a movie called Fallout. So maybe I'm just missing it. Maybe my mind is just wandering around. But you're not ringing any bells with that one. So, friend of the channel, Ren is in the chat. Hey, Ren. Hope you can make it out to Austin for Fantastic Fest. That would be awesome. We could do some very cool stuff if you can make it out here. Here's a question I get all the time. Stop Motion Steve, do you have a Letterboxd account? I do, but I don't really use it. I find it to be more work because I take all my notes in Evernote, and I have for over 10 years. Well before I started my YouTube channel, Evernote is what I've used to take notes, write things. I write the notes, scripts for videos in there, brainstorm ideas, write the notes for my talks I do at Fan Expos in Evernote. Until I do my final draft. If I do a final draft of something that I'm going to take with me to a live, I'll do that in Word. But all my notes are in Evernote. And so then I'm just copying what I already wrote in one app into the other. And that's not, it's just work. I don't get anything out of that. And so it's not useful for me. It's just extra work. And I don't look at other people's reviews on this. I just don't use it. So I don't use it. The Unchosen One. Sean, do you think Mandalorian Season 3 will be a success? I'll tell you, if you've been following my coverage of The Mandalorian since day one, I have loved that show. It's a huge, it's an event show for my family. We wake up before my kids go to school, watch it before they go to school, and then I shoot my video and post it. We watch every episode together. It's the first TV show where I was excited about it, and so was my son. So The Mandalorian is like a huge show for our family of something like we get excited about. We started rewatching Season 1 just a couple days back in preparation for Season 3. Book of Boba Fett really knocked it down for me, though. A couple of reasons. Reason number one, it's the same creative team, and it just wasn't good. It just wasn't there. It just felt like, why are we doing this? Why does this season exist? There's not enough story here. There's some things in the production that are bad, and our lead character's not compelling. And then it goes off and it does 2 episodes of the Mandalorian, and they're the 2 best episodes of the season, and that's not good. Like, why did you greenlight a show if you can't actually pull it off? So that makes me nervous right there, that maybe they only had so many good ideas. The other one is also from Book of Boba Fett. They undid the ending of the last season. The whole point of Season 2 of The Mandalorian, everything that was about, was getting Grogu to the Jedi. That was the whole mission of the season. They designed a season around that idea. And before we even get another episode of the TV show The Mandalorian, they undid it. I don't get that. I do not understand what they're thinking. I do understand what they're thinking. they probably realized, oh crap, our whole show is about these two characters, and we wrote a plot line where we split that up. My 4-year-old, when we started rewatching The Mandalorian, started the episode and she's like, what's this show? She had no idea. She has multiple Grogu stuffies. She loves Baby Yoda and doesn't know he's on The Mandalorian. That marketing stuff of the merchandising and everything, Grogu is such a pivotal piece that you can't get rid of him. But that's what they did at the end of season 2. And when you're just backtracking, undoing things, you make me really, really nervous. So I dug the trailers they've put out. I dug the first 2 seasons. I get why they undid some stuff. And so I wouldn't say I'm cynical. I'm still excited. Like I said, I just started rewatching the seasons. But there is a certain amount to where I feel like my excitement isn't where it would have been before Book of Boba Fett. Book of Boba Fett dramatically reduced my excitement, somewhat even to that point. Kenobi reduced my excitement. And Andor I thought it was great, but it's a different creative team. It's not the same people. And so it was like 2 shows in a row that were kind of in one vein of creation that were not good. And so this is the next one in that vein. That makes me very, very nervous. I get this question a lot. Film Kid, will you ever watch Godzilla movies? I mean, obviously I've reviewed the big ones on my channel and covered those ones. But will I ever watch all 35 movies? I doubt it. It's like one of those very niche things that people that love Godzilla. Even at Fan Expo New Orleans a couple weeks back, someone asked this exact question. And he was talking about, I guess there's a new one coming out later this year in Japan. And like, if you're really into Godzilla, it's your thing that you're super into. For me, if I'm watching the one that came out in 55 and the one that came out in 57, the one that came out in 60, I'm not into it enough. I don't know that world enough to see the distinctions and how it will all play out. So I kind of look at that, and it, like, even watching all the James Bond films, I'm into the Bond films, and watching all of them was tough for me. When you get into the Roger Moore era, even the Sean Connery ones, it's not really my thing the way it is for Bond fans. So there's too big of a gap between me and my interest and my knowledge and the people that are interested in that video. Because especially with Godzilla, it's a niche video, and I am not in that world. JJB with the super chat. Thank you so much. Hey, Sean, have you ever watched the show Evil? No, I don't think I'm even aware of what the TV show Evil is, or I don't know what network it's on, so I don't think I've even heard of the show Evil off the top of my head. So unfortunately, I don't know anything about that one. Here's a quick one. Have you seen the movie Walk the Line, the Johnny Cash biopic? What are your thoughts? I haven't. It's a James Mangold film, too, who I love, James Mangold. So I haven't seen it. So he's got a new movie coming out, kind of a high-profile one. So hopefully I'll watch all of his movies that I haven't seen. Actually, I'll just watch all of his movies. But somehow, this one with all this awards and everything, I haven't seen it. And no particular reason, I just haven't. Pork Show. Who do you think will most likely die in Kang Dynasty? This far out, I don't have a good guess because I don't even know who's in the movie. So, like, when you're, like, so far out where you don't even know the cast yet, it's tough to be like, I bet these people will die. When we're the week before, I'm sure I'll do a video on that. And I'll dive into it, and I'll spoil the movie for myself by looking at every trailer frame by frame. But this far out, I don't really have a guess. Because it's just, I have too little information to be able to say anything. And to the point of, like, I don't know who the Avengers are. That's some of my criticisms of Phase 4. I don't know who the leaders are. I don't know what the grander arcs for some of the characters are. So then it's tough to guess who would be satisfying to see them die by the hand of Kang. When reviewing a film, do you watch it once as a fan, then again to review, or do you take notes while watching it the first time? Well, no, I guess none of the above. I don't take notes while I'm watching movies if I watch them in the theater. I just watch them as Sean Chandler. I try and best in my mind to categorize things as I have thoughts watching the film. But you think, like, I post a lot of my reviews before the movie's even released. So it's not possible for me to watch them 2 times before I post my reviews. And when you watch as many movies I do, it's like I don't want to watch every movie 2 times. And so doing that would just be prohibitive on being able to do what I do at a certain level. There's a handful of movies that I would like to be able to do that. Movies that I go into with a lot of preconceived notions, expectations. And so I go in and filtering through like the excitement of just being there, filtering through did it live up to what I wanted. There's a lot of like feelings that you have to kind of sort through a little bit. But there's only a handful that really fall into that category. And when it comes to it, like I just do my best to take good notes in my head, and then maybe I'll rewatch the trailer when I get home to see what in there sparks memories of the experience. And like when the credits start rolling, I have my phone out, Evernote, writing down the things that are really important. And then I'll just think through is it a comedy? Did I laugh? Was it supposed to have a big emotional arcs? Did they pay off? Was the action awesome? Why or why not? How do I comment on that? So that's what I kind of do. But at home, I write notes while I'm watching them. But in the theater, I don't. I just take mental notes. Have you seen Ash vs. Evil Dead? I've seen a few episodes. I fully plan to watch through it before the new one comes out in April. So I plan to watch it over the next few months. Here's a great question. Cake Man Extreme. Are you going to MegaCon in Orlando? This past week, if you've noticed over the last couple weeks, I haven't posted a ton of videos. It's not because I haven't been working. It's been several things. Like my wife was out of town this week, so I couldn't make stuff. I did a lot of videos at the end of the year, beginning of the year, because it was just that crazy season. So I was cranking out these rankings. So I took my foot off the gas. But behind the scenes, I've been working on my fall plans. And so I had 2 different phone calls this last week talking about MegaCon. 2 different long phone calls talking about MegaCon in Orlando. So big, gigantic Comic-Con in Orlando. I will be at MegaCon. I can't say who else will be there yet. There will be other people there. There's chances there's going to be some people there. In the discussions that have been had, it's one person I've been definitely watching 10 years. There might be 2 different people I've been watching on YouTube for 10 years there on the same creator stage in everything we're working on. Talk to two of my good YouTube friends potentially will be there, plus 3 people that are pretty more high profile than me that I've been watching a while. I can't make announcements because they're not locked in, so those things might not happen. But yeah, I will definitely be at MegaCon. And of all these cons I've been to, this year's MegaCon should be the biggest and the best panel. At panels, more than one. It'll probably be 2 or 3 days of very cool stuff. I'm working as hard as I can to make it as cool as is possible. Have you seen Ip Man series? No, I haven't seen any of them somehow. Love your videos. Thank you so much. Actually, back on this last one. I want to throw this out here. Might as well announce it right now. So I had phone calls about other things too. I'm going to be in Portland next month, and that'll just be me. So Portland next month, and doing 2 panels, one on Saturday, one on Sunday. And then a week before MegaCon, I'll be in Cleveland. So if you're in Ohio, I'm going to be in Cleveland at Fan Expo Cleveland. And both Austin Burke and John Flickinger confirmed they'll be there this week with me. So it'll be me, John Burke, that's a pastor here in Austin. Austin Burke and John Flickinger, which is very cool. That I've been watching Flickinger's videos a while, and we'll be doing a panel together, maybe 2 panels together in Cleveland. That'll be the Saturday. Flickinger will definitely be there. So if you're in Ohio, if you like me, Flickinger, Burke, make it to Fan Expo Cleveland. What is your favorite movie climax? There's a lot of different ways you could take that one, but Endgame is tough to beat. Endgame is just like something really special with what they did in the final hour, paying off so much there. So off the top of my head, that's the one that comes to mind of like, how could you ever top that? Could you see Chucky easily being able to live in the same world as Freddy and Jason? Kind of, because the continuity on all three of them is pretty wacky. Like all of them have kind of been like, whatever, let's just go for it. So I'm not super like protective of those. Like, oh no, they did something silly in the Friday the 13th franchise. Well, they like as you by movie 2, they'd already kind of shot their credibility. Then they turn him into a zombie. Then they send him to space. So sure, but that's because I'm not particularly worried about it. Will you be checking out Hogwarts Legacy? I'm sure we'll be buying it. I'm not a big Harry Potter person, so I don't know how much I would play it, but my wife and my kids are huge Harry Potter people, so I'm sure that we will have it. Blatant Hero, are you excited for the Transformers Rise of the Beasts? I am. So I put out a trailer reaction that when the first trailer came out, and in general, I've never been as big of a Transformers fan as some other people. Like, a bunch of people went bananas for the first Transformers movie, and I didn't. I was like, oh, cool, that was fun. And so I didn't get mad at the second and third ones as much as some other people, because I didn't see as big of a dip in quality as they did. I had fun. Like I said, I had fun with it, but just not as much fun as some other people. And so I thought Bumblebee was really good, really well done, but they're not continuing in that direction. So I thought it just looked like more of the same. Like, you got transform, and people all the time are like, yeah, but they brought these in, and they're doing this plot line, and they're bringing these. It's like, but they've been doing that stuff all along. They're bringing this transformer, and they're bringing this one in, and that doesn't make the movies good. A lot of those movies have been really bad, even though they brought in very cool Transformers for a little bit. I have a friend that was at a test screening for Rise of the Beasts 2 months back or so. He wasn't a big fan. He didn't love it. Now, you're watching a Transformers movie 8 months before it comes out. Probably a lot of incomplete special effects there. But still, he wasn't a big fan of it. So, just in general, I wouldn't be as excited as some of you anyway. The trailer was fun enough. It looked fine, but I didn't love it. And then I know someone that's seen it, and he was not particularly a big fan of it. Some of you guys keep asking the same question over and over and over again, too many times, too close together, so I'm having trouble finding other questions, even though I've answered yours. Everything Weather. Do you think Scream 6 could be the best sequel, or is that too tall a task? Could it be the best Scream sequel? I mean, I think it's possible, because they're changing things up enough that it adds a freshness to it. We're not just in the suburbs. We're not just... one of the problems... I've seen some people on Twitter saying, like, all of the previous Scream movies have, in a sense, felt like a sequel to the original film. Each of them was a sequel to the original film because it just kept going back to Sydney and ties, and, well, we're doing a legacy sequel, so it ties back. And so the fact that Sydney's not coming back, we're going to a new city, and it's just this continuation of the story with different characters. It feels like the first time we're really fully moving forward. Well, even this last one, huge, gigantic point in it was a tie back, a character's connection back to the killer in the original film. So this one feels like we're really moving away from Scream 1, we're going to a new city, and I thought this latest trailer was very cool. I liked that setting, and you can feel them actually using New York as a character in the story, which is what they should do and what I want them to do. Those are all very good signs. I'm a bit nervous because of the quick turnaround, though. And that might be a little bit misleading because there was delays, there's all the COVID stuff that gave them more time to sit there, ponder, and write before they were able to put out last year's Scream. So it's a little bit misleading of how short the turnaround is, but it is only a year and 2 months later. In the actual, from release to release, it's 1 year, 2 months. That makes me a little bit nervous. Maybe they went in with a fantastic pitch when they originally pitched doing last year's film that included multiple movies, and so we're getting that. But I don't know. So I think it's possible because it's different enough, it's fresh enough that it just opens some possibilities for some neat stuff. But yeah, I have some reservations. The Comics Clash. When do you think we will get James Gunn's DC slate? He said he's going to announce stuff before the end of the month. It's the 28th. So Monday, Tuesday. I mean, I expect something this week, I suppose. Andy Nachos, this is such an entertaining live stream. Thank you much. I might as well pause right here to say that I've done a bad job of doing these live streams over here on the main channel. Some of that's just because they can be stressful because there's so many questions, and when I do them by myself, I can get nervous, especially if I go a while without doing them. Like, I get anxious going into it. Other one is I had big internet problems last year, so I got a new camera, which I actually bought this new camera for the purpose of being able to use it for live streams. And then it just looks so good. I immediately just replaced my camera. I just love the way that it picks up color, the sharpness, that it can blur the background with the how low of a f-stop it has. And then I got a new router, a new modem, and upgraded my internet service so I can finally do live streams. And you watching right now, this is the first live stream I have ever done in 1080. Hopefully it looks good. Hopefully my internet's holding up. But this one right now, I was like, I'm going to take a chance. I upgraded my StreamYard too to go 1080. So you're seeing the first time I've ever done one of these in 1080. But I do live streams over on Patreon every week. I did over 40 live streams on Patreon. So all of you watching, I answer everyone's questions on my Patreon live streams. There's normally like 10 to 15, 20 people in there, so I can respond to every single person. Join at any level, $2 per month, $21 per year, and you can get all your questions answered. $5 per month, you can have your name on my end card on my videos, and $25 per month, you have a video chat with me. Like last night I did 4 video chats in a row. I was kind of exhausted afterwards, but like for 2 hours straight, just sitting there talking movies with different fans. But yeah, live stream, they're fun because you don't get the edited cut version of me, and you get me to talk about all kinds of different things. Also on that point, on my second channel, I've been clipping out pieces of these live streams I'm doing to post kind of these types of content. So look up Sean Chandler Plus if you haven't already, and more content talking about this type of stuff. With the success of The Last of Us so far, what other video games would you like to see attempt a live action adaptation, whether TV show or movie? So part of the problem is I don't play a ton of video games to be as into the culture to be able to comment on some of it. So there's a bit of a limitation for me on this question, but like the one that immediately comes to mind is Legend of Zelda. This big, sweeping fantasy series with multiple recognizable characters, deep fantasy lore, and now almost 40 years worth of games. Make that a TV show right there. I don't know how much stories on some of these, so maybe it would work better as the stories could be told in movies well, but Legend of Zelda right there. That just feels like you're looking for big franchises to do fantasy with because of Game of Thrones and Rings of Power, Witcher, Zelda. There's one right there can be for the whole family. I'm trying to think of I think of other big popular games, but do they have stories that could translate well? I mean, obviously Grand Theft Auto is huge. But I don't know if the story translates into a movie that the experience of the game is the fact that you're this criminal that's stealing cars. So I don't think it translates well. Anyway, those off the top of my head, I'd have to spend some time thinking about it. Michael, see you in the comments all the time. Hey, what do you think happened to Robert Zemeckis? It's one of life's great mysteries. I mean, you think like how good this guy was from 1985 till 2000. And he's had a few things in the last 20 years, but the number of things he's put out in the last 20 years where you're just like, what are you doing? What happened to you, man? I don't get it. I don't have a theory on that one. Super Marvel Max, do you think Phase 5 will be an improvement over Phase 4 of the MCU? Short, quick answer, yes, I do. Because my big issue with Phase 4 is that it just didn't have a clear enough focus. It didn't have something that pulled all of these plot lines together. It didn't have a team-up movie to join other characters so you could get an idea of like, who are our essentials? Who's the leader? How do they interact? It just felt like all of these different stories. I mean, there's like 5 different main plot lines and a bunch of these like standalone stories that I don't know if they'll ever follow them up. And so it just felt too scattershot. And I thought the quality dipped. Some of that is they put out too much. They went for quantity over quality. Some of that is they had a lot of new people. Some of that is they're doing TV for the first time. So hopefully they've learned from all of that. But as you move into phase 5, they can look at the last phase and learn from it, realize what didn't really work. They can look at it, and they've had now done several TV shows, so hopefully they're going to get better and better at pacing them out better than they've done on a bunch of these shows. And then they're kicking it off with a movie about Kang that gives us our target, that gives us our focus. Thunderbolts might not be an Avengers movie, but at least it's doing something to pull characters together that feels like, instead of all these scattered characters all over the multiverse, we're actually doing things together. Not just little cameos in each other's movies, but like actually these characters pulled together. So I think there's a lot of reasons to have hope that Phase 5 will... One of the things, I had a lot of conversations with people about how a lot of people have been talking with me saying, man, I used to watch everything Marvel put out, and I stopped during Phase 4 because there was just too much. And I couldn't watch all these TV shows. So do I need to watch this show before I watch Ant-Man? Do I need to watch this show before Guardians? Do I need to watch this show? I've had that question so many times in the last couple of months as we're getting ready for some of these movies. And what happened with a lot of people is during Phase 3, there was Marvel FOMO, Marvel fear of missing out. That I need to watch every movie because I'm not all that interested in Captain Marvel, but it's right before Endgame. I can't skip this thing. So they would watch everything. And if they didn't see it in the theater, they'd rent it before the next movie came out because they didn't want to miss an important piece of the puzzle. And during Phase 4, they lost that. Some of that, it was a rebuilding phase. That was inherently going to happen to a certain extent. But I think they could have done a better job of finding some way to give more of a reason for people to watch everything, pull it together. Find some movie to close it out, something that makes it feel like I can't miss it. Phase 4 didn't have that. And I feel like Phase 5, right out of the gate, has more of that. Where people are asking me, do I need to catch up on this or this before I watch this? Because there's fear of missing out on something important in Marvel again. That right there, just the conversations I'm having makes me think that it's heading in the right direction. Eric Hill wanted to go full-blown personal on here. What was the darkest moment of your life? Woo! Well, talk about a change in tone and direction on here. But, I mean, he's pretty easy to talk about in another sense. All of it deals with alcohol because my dad drank himself to death. And then after he died, I started drinking and became an alcoholic myself. And I would normally skip a question like this because it feels like an odd place to talk about it, but it's something I've decided I want to leverage my platform to discuss, the way that alcohol has screwed up my life. And even part of my redemption story and being on like YouTube, this channel is part of my redemption story of I was unemployed when I started this YouTube channel because of my drinking problem. I was in rehab when I started this channel because of my drinking problem. And I was lucky enough to get a second chance at life on this YouTube channel. And a second career, and I'm in a much healthier, better place on all levels. So darkest moment of my life, I don't know how you quantify that, but, when your dad drinks himself to death when you're 20, that's pretty traumatic. And my whole childhood was having a drunk dad that was somewhat abusive. And I repeated many of his mistakes, hopefully not all of them, not the abusive part and things like that, but I was a very bad husband, very bad father for several years there because I had such a drinking problem. And that was a very dark time from about late 2012 until 2016. It was about 3 very years of like a very dark place for me that it's tough to even look at pictures of myself from when my kids were that young because of where I was at. It was such a dark place. So don't mean to get super depressing on here, but I want to leverage my channel and my audience to discuss things like that. I felt alone when I was in my problems, and someone watching right now, is in the middle of it right now, whether it's alcohol or something else. They're in the middle of their dark moment. There's hope, but you have to come clean. You have got to go public. You got to tell people, and you got to get help. And I'll say this, every time I do go out to these Comic Cons, every single time I go to them, there's always the meet and greet line, a bunch of people want to meet me, and a family walks up, and it'll be like a 15-year-old kid that's so excited to meet me and asking me a couple Marvel questions. We take a picture, and then before they walk off, the parent looks me in the eye and says, "Thank you so much for being a positive influence on YouTube. You're not annoying. We can watch it as a family. You don't cuss. I appreciate that." And I have a drinking problem. And even you admitting that on your channel is just really helpful for me. And I just thank you so much for sharing your story and being a positive role model that's been on the other side of some really dark times. Thank you. Every time I do these fan expos, someone comes up and tells me that exact thing. So that's why as best I can, I want to use my platform to discuss that. Let's get back to some other things. What's a Valentine's Day gift that is seeing... What a Valentine's Day gift that is seeing hundreds of people die on a ship that actually existed. Sean Chandler, awesome husband. If you don't know what he's talking about, he asked me earlier if I was going to watch Titanic for when it re-releases next month. And I said I was going to take my wife for Valentine's Day to see Titanic. So what a romantic date, watching people die. A reenactment of real people dying. Good point. 44 Light, are you going to watch Flash Season 9? I doubt it. I doubt I will watch it. Unfortunately, because I haven't watched the last 2 seasons. I'll watch the one where Stephen Amell comes back, but I doubt I'll watch much more than that. I just looked at the time, and I looked at the timestamp on these questions, and I am over 30 minutes behind on the questions. Are you Jackson? You look like a Jackson. Okay, USA. Credit to anyone in the comment section that knows what he's referring to. It is a reference back to the first rated R movie that I ever saw, and a classic line from it. Are you Jackson? You look like a Jackson. And then, okay, USA. Credit to anyone that knows what that's a reference to. Man, I am... What's your thoughts on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2014? I did a ranking of the Ninja Turtles movies. You can hear my thoughts on it in there. Alexander, hey Sean, what video game cutscenes would you like to see in a movie theater? Honestly, I can't think of anything I'd want to do that with. So unfortunately, I don't have a very satisfying answer. Like I know some people like watch the cutscenes of video games as a movie on YouTube and to experience them in that way. I've never done that. That's not something I'd be interested in. So unfortunately, I wish I had a better, more satisfying answer for you with the super chat, but I just can't think of anything that I would want to do that with. But thank you so much for the super chat. Seeing this question a ton in here. Will you be watching Pantheon, Sean? I don't know what it is, so I don't know. I would assume it's a movie from India. That's a total guess. I could be totally wrong, just from trying to quick read some of this stuff. With the names that are requesting it. I would say after my experience with RRR, actually, and Three Idiots, it's very much on my radar to try and check out actual movies of cinema from India in the theater this year. Like I almost went this week. A new one came out in the theater this week, but my wife was out of town. So if she'd been in town, I would have been able to get her to go. Film Talker asks, what's your favorite video game of all time? I have a video on that. My top 10 favorite video games. It's like Warcraft 2 is maybe Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, the original one. Something like that. I have a video on that, though. Someone asked about my biggest Oscar snubs. I did a long video talking about the Oscars just a couple days ago. What's your favorite color? Blue, like my eyes. I one time had someone tell me I had Nazi blue eyes. I didn't know how to take that. That's a weird compliment to give someone. Stuck with me. That was 30 years ago. Oh, you've got very pretty Nazi blue eyes. Thanks? I don't know what you do with that one. That is a weird thing to tell someone, but blue. It's even like that's one of the reasons the wall behind me is blue. That's like when I built this set originally, I really didn't want to do a blue wall because I was afraid it would look too much like Chris Stuckman's set. And it did. Even though I tried really hard to make it not look like Chris Stuckman's set, it still looked like Chris Stuckman's set. But I just like blue. And it's like, what's the actual best color that for what I'm trying to do, that in light of what I like, it was blue. So I went with blue and then tried to put posters up and all these things and backlighting to make it not look like Chris Stuckman's. And then it looked exactly like Chris Stuckman's no matter what I did. Lucky Diamond, if we got a new Nightmare on Elm Street movie, where would you most want them to pick up from, or what new thing would you want them to do? Robert Englund's still alive. If you get like I don't know who, but Mike Flanagan, you get like a top talent, and you do a legacy sequel, one more with Robert Englund. I think that'd be pretty cool. And find some, like, because especially from the main run, it's been 30 years. But even since Freddy vs. Jason, it's been 20 years. And next year, 40 years since the original. That's a very different world of technology. You think even in the year when Freddy vs. Jason came out, that was still pretty early internet. That was like high-speed internet was only being introduced. So how different the world is now. And what could you do with a Robert Englund one more to close it out and actually kill Freddy for good? If you're not going to do that, I think it is. I think it absolutely is a franchise that can benefit from a remake, because the first one is a low-budget film with 40-year-old technology. And you're talking about dreams. There's so many interesting creative things you can do. And the remake from 2010 wasn't good, but that's not a matter of it wasn't possible to make a good one. That one just didn't come together. Hey, Sean, can you rank the Scorsese movies? It's absolutely on my radar. It's been on my radar a long time. You have to keep in mind, though, those are gigantic time investments and big risks. I watched every Spielberg movie, and then Fabelman's flopped. I watched 35 movies to do a ranking. Fabelman's, no one went to go see it, so it wasn't a very good springboard to do a ranking. So now I'm going to do that video right around when the Oscars come out. Hopefully more people have seen it by then. But Scorsese's been making movies for 50 years. Not short movies, not easy watch movies. That's like 3 months of watching dense dramas and writing notes till I can talk about them articulately 3 months later in a ranking. That's a tough video to do. So it's not like just real quick, next week I'll do it. If you want me to watch a trilogy of movies, I can do that in a week. Easy. Scorsese movies, that's 50 years worth of films. 50 years. I don't know the exact number, but I'm pretty sure it's over 30. It's certainly over 25. So just multiply that. 50 times 2 hours. 50 hours of movie watching to do one video. There's no way I actually earn that back, the amount of time I put into it. But more importantly, they're not 2 hour movies. A lot of them are 3 hour movies or more. The Irishman. So then it's 50 to 75 hours for one video that might not do well. Some of my Tarantino ranking got 200,000 views. That's pretty cool. My Fincher ranking did not. Some of that's maybe the movie. Mank wasn't as big of a deal as Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That factors into it a good bit, but that's why I was like, oh crap, Fabelman's flop. This is not a good springboard for what I'm trying to do. G14 classified a few of your best and worst cinematic experiences. This is fun. So Fast 5, one of the best. I went to, back even just 10 years ago, they didn't do Thursday night screenings. They did midnight screenings. So it'd still be Friday. So you'd go to the movie at midnight. It would start at 12:01. So I went to go see Fast 5 at one of the biggest screens in town. It's still the theater I go to in town for big openings. Whenever I do fan meetups for Marvel movies, that's the same screen. It's the XD at the Cinemark in Pflugerville, Texas. And so go to the movie. Parking lot is filled with muscle cars. Just people revving their engines and stuff like that. And sit down. Everyone is pumped up, just energized for the movie. Some dude runs down the aisle, and I don't know if he didn't know it was a drop or not, but he jumped over the rail into the walkway in. But it's stadium seating. So it's 10 feet, 15 feet up in the air. So the guy runs, jumps over this deal, and everyone in the theater sees him do it and goes, whoa! There's a gasp, did a guy just break his leg? And I'm good. Nothing happened. And we're all just what was that? And to watch the movie, and it's, I think, still to this day, the best Fast and the Furious movie. And so it's just a cool, fun, memorable experience. Of course, Endgame, opening night. I'd already seen it a couple of days before, so I'm just watching the room. I know what's about to happen. I'm watching everyone freak out. Spider-Man No Way Home, opening night. That was a special deal. That was, and I was there with my kids that didn't fully understand what they were watching. Like they've seen all the Spider-Man movies, so they're like tracking with the plot. But when Andrew took his mask off, my theater freaked out, like maybe your theater freaked out, and people are like standing and clapping and shouting. And my kids are like, what's going on? Why is everyone clapping? I've never seen this before. And they're just like in awe of this experience. And so that was just really neat. Worst, Insidious, The Last Key, or whatever the last one was. There's a group, I think it was a January horror film, normally not the best audiences. A bunch of high schoolers were in front of me. Before the movie starts, they're watching porn on their phones in the theater. This is awkward. And then during the movie, there's a plot line where like a girl, not plot point where a girl's like laying on a table in the back half of the film. And like she's wearing a skin-tight shirt. She's pretty, but it's not like at all like scantily clad. Nothing that's like seductive or anything like that. It's just a girl laying on a table and you can see her curves. Like I said, nothing trashy, anything like that. But every time it cut to a picture of this girl, they would play some clip or something about trying to keep this family friendly, about the man being excited by what he's seeing. Every time it would cut to her, they'd play this audio clip. And at first I was like, what is that? What is that? And then eventually realized, oh, it's these guys in front of us. And so people, we all hated them. Maximus, should Charlie Cox be given a chance as James Bond? I've never thought about it. I don't think I see it. I mean, I love him as Daredevil, but I don't think I see it. Just seems too. I don't know. There's a certain vibe to James Bond's that I don't specifically see in him. So yeah, I like him, but some of the other names like that, I don't like the idea of Henry Cavill or Tom Hiddleston or Tom Hardy or Tom Holiday, any Tom Hanks, any of the Tom H's. I don't see it because I don't want to see Spider-Man as James Bond. I don't want to see The Witcher, Superman, Loki as James Bond. But if Henry Cavill didn't have these other roles, I'd be for it. I see it better. Charlie Cox, I just don't see it. Over-leveled games. Paying so that I am finally in a video. You have made it, sir. You are in a video. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for the super chat. And keep talking movies too much. Over-leveled games. You have made it. Clorox, did your kids like Book of Boba Fett? I don't know. I mean, I don't think they didn't have the cynicism that I had towards it. Yeah. They liked it more than I did. Chris and Alex time. Who do you think would win in a fight, Clubber Lang or Ivan Drago? See, the question is tough to answer because Clubber Lang both defeated Rocky Balboa and he lost to Rocky Balboa. So you have a scenario. You have to keep in mind that it's not like fighters are not steady things. They're not always in the same place. They're not equal in talent all the time. So it's tough to answer the question. But with the way they established Ivan Drago as doped out super boxer, I think he wins for that reason. And also, when Rocky lost to Lang, he was in a bad headspace. When he defeated Drago, he was in crazy focus mode. So I think Drago is set up or established to be better. What are your thoughts on Nacho Libre? Oh, have you seen Nacho Libre? What are your thoughts on it? Somehow my brain took two sentences and merged them together. I've only seen it one time. It was in the theater, like opening weekend. I had enough fun with it, but I obviously haven't rewatched it, so it didn't make that big of a mark on me. Did you watch the Teen Wolf movie? No, I haven't seen the show. So, I haven't. Like, I have watched none of it. I have barely any knowledge of it, besides some casting stuff. So I'd be just jumping in on something that I'm very detached from. Crowned Gamer, what show changed television? My answer is Lost. Well, there's several of them kind of along the way. television prior to like 1990 was always episodic, always at standalone stories, because there wasn't a mechanism to watch older episodes. So you needed a show where people could step in at any point in time and enjoy it and understand the premise. And you start getting the early 90s, and you start getting, even on animated stuff, X-Men the animated series was serialized. One episode led into the next. It's children's television in the early 90s, way ahead of the game. X-Files was episodic, but it also had a growing mythology. And so you can talk about a Freak of the Week, or Case of the Week, Freak of the Week, and mythology episodes, alien episodes. And so they had a mythology that was building, but it was also very, very much episodic. And you start getting to the turn of the century, HBO starts to do some shows, cable does some shows that start to be more serialized, and you start getting the advent of box sets for TV shows. VHS, there wasn't a good mechanism to like release a season of television on 25 videotapes or whatever. You couldn't do it. It was impractical, but you could release a box set of a season of television. All of a sudden, people could watch older episodes. It was a mechanism to do it. So around the turn of the century, you start getting the shows, and then, you know, Lost being one of them, network television, totally serialized. And it just changed the game. And then you start getting prestige, a lot of the really prestige stuff in, you know, the late zeros with Breaking Bad and things like that. So there's kind of a lot of things, that transition from episodic to serialized that took place throughout the 90s, and then in the early zeros it really started. 24. It's literally chronological. A 24-hour day is a season. Have you seen The Wire? Speaking of TV shows that changed the game and that are serialized, have you seen The Wire? If so, what are your thoughts? I have only seen a few episodes. I haven't seen enough to be able to comment on it. Unfortunately, it's one of those ones that I know is one of the great classic ones, but I haven't seen it. Kurt Hoff, are you planning on ranking the M. Night Shyamalan movies with Knock at the Cabin coming out? There will definitely be coverage. Probably a new ranking, yeah. I've already watched 4 of the movies. Yesterday, I actually watched both The Happening and Signs. Watched Signs with the whole family and Happening with my wife. And so I've already watched several of them. I got a lot more I got to watch over this next week. But yes is the answer. There'll be that sort of content. Robert Mayer, hey Sean, what are your opinions on the Soups Matt Ramos situation? I don't like to talk about other people too much. I will only say, and so I won't even tell the context to any of this if you don't know it. I think the apologies that he put out didn't address the concerns that people had. He repeated his accusation. He didn't address the concern about him. So I don't feel his apologies adequately addressed what people were concerned about. So it's like, hey, I already addressed it. It's like, but you didn't address what was said. The thing that people are worried about is not what you said about someone else. It's what that person said about you. And so I don't know the guy. I haven't really interacted with the guy. Couldn't really say much about him, but someone raised some significant concerns, and his response, on the off chance you're watching, Matt, your response didn't address the concerns, and so it's just kind of a dangling thread out there. If someone said you did something and you didn't have an adequate response to what they said. What are your thoughts on Wes Anderson? So back 20 years ago, I loved his stuff. Like, I was like totally drinking the Kool-Aid when Royal Tenenbaums came out and was so excited for Life Aquatic, and kind of stopped following him a little bit as I got older, got busier in life. And so I've meant to do, so like last year I was going to do a Wes Anderson ranking, so much so that he shot some of his movies in Texas. So I shot part of a Wes Anderson ranking at a shooting location for the movie Bottle Rocket. But, I tried to watch all the movies, and there was just too many movies. There's too many things I was trying to watch, and I just couldn't. Like, Wes Anderson movies are such a distinct flavor that it's like eating the same meal every day for a week. So I tried to watch them, and I just couldn't do it. It was just too much of the same vibe all at once. Have you seen NCIS? No, but my mom watches it all the time. I haven't watched it. Are you looking forward to Star Wars Jedi Survivor? A little bit. I wasn't a big fan of the first game because I thought like it was tried to do kind of like this open world, but also it kind of had linear maps. So I felt there were too many times I got lost in maps and like I'm just looking for the right cave to get out of the mountain I'm stuck in, and that wasn't fun. So I think there's room to do something that I would really enjoy. The first game didn't quite do it. Joseph Curtis, have you watched The Chosen? Shockingly, it's pretty amazing. Awesome execution of the greatest story. Love to hear your thoughts. I haven't watched any of it. I get this question all the time. All the time. Even my buddy Durbin of Durbania was just a fan of the show and posted content on his YouTube channel, and they hired him. The show hired him. He moved from California to the Dallas area to work for the YouTube channel for The Chosen, and he's like on set interviewing the cast. He's the host of their channel. Has like 2 million subs or something like that. But I haven't actually seen a single episode. I meant to. I should, but I haven't done it yet. Thoughts on Naughty Dog saying they're moving on from Uncharted? I get moving on from Nathan Drake, but Lost Legacy seemed like was setting up more adventures with other characters. I don't know, man. That's weird. I read that. I was like, really? Like, I get not wanting to tarnish your own legacy. You had a great run of fantastic games, and you don't want to break that. But you had a fantastic run of great games. I want you to keep having that run. We got a new generation here. We got the PlayStation 5. Let's keep on going. What new thing can you add? I want to spend more time in your game engine with the way you design games and the stories you tell with the characters in that world. So I was not a fan of that decision. What are your thoughts on Blade Runner? Do you think the original is better than 2049? So I've talked about this quite a bit. I did even a ranking last year on sci-fi movies where I talk about Blade Runner. I like 2049 a lot more than the original Blade Runner, but it's a 31 on 31 from last year, the sci-fi one. I actually, before doing that one, I think it was September, August, something like that is when we did that video, but it was August, something like that. 31 on 31 sci-fi movies, and I was able to see Blade Runner actually in the theater because they just happened to show it at a local theater. So my rewatch was like on the big screen and everything, but that one has my thoughts on it. Have you seen Christopher Nolan's Interstellar? It's my top 5 favorite movies. Love it so much. Yeah, Christopher Nolan's one of my favorite directors. I've ranked all the Christopher Nolan films a couple of different times, but I ranked them last whenever Tenet came out. I was going to review every single Nolan film leading up to Tenet, but they kept moving the release date, so it messed up my plan to get them all watched and post reviews. The only one I have not reviewed is Interstellar. So cool, like it just happened. The one you're asking me, it's the only one I haven't done a review for. But I give all my thoughts on it, or I give my quick thoughts on it in my ranking from a couple years back. Okay, now I'm only 30 minutes behind on these deals. Zach W. Have you played the Last of Us games yet? If so, what are your thoughts? What do you think of Part 2? Haven't played Part 2 at all. I am playing through the first one while I watch the first season. So as of 2 days ago, actually I said that as if I'm playing along. I haven't caught up yet with the TV show yet. Playing through it, I'm at the part where he first meets Elle and they're in his apartment and he takes the nap. So very early on, that's where I'm at. Hope to play again tonight and hopefully catch up even a little bit more. But I'm working on it. Back in 2020, I played through all the Uncharted games, which we just talked about, and then I followed it up with Last of Us. But my wife doesn't do zombies at all. And Last of Us is like really good design on the creatures and the clickers. They're very unsettling. So playing that in our living room did not go well. Since then, I got a PlayStation 5. That's downstairs. Right here is my PlayStation 4, so I can play Last of Us away from where my wife is at, which makes it much easier. So whenever I played before, I played, I think, almost right up to where episode 2 ends. Like, what happens in the last scene of episode 2, I didn't see that in the game, or whatever version of that is in the game. But the stuff right before that, with the clickers and the trying to get through the building, I'd seen that. So, like, that's how far I played into it. So, not very far. 2 episodes of the show is what I did before, and right now I'm about half an episode through. So the Nun 2 on your radar. I mean, it's on my radar because it's in the Conjuring universe, but that's like my least favorite movie in the Conjuring universe. So my excitement level for it is way down here. Billy Joe, what's your favorite streaming service? I don't know. I've obviously done my rankings of the streaming service many different times. I don't think I could do one this year. I feel like in 2022, the top guys didn't have the best years, so the things that made them way up here the year before weren't as strong, and the ones that were kind of crappy, I spent a lot more time watching in 2022. Peacock, Paramount Plus, ones that I hadn't really used before, I used them a lot more, and I wasn't as crazy about what Disney, Netflix, and HBO did, so squished it. Amazon, it was pretty consistent, so maybe Amazon wins by default, but I don't think like, man, Amazon Prime, that's my favorite. It just had a more consistent year with their past years. The thing that I would add is Tubi. Tubi is one that I had never really used until last year, and Tubi reminds me of walking through Blockbuster in the year 2000. So it's like the nostalgia movies, all these like weird, obscure martial arts movies that I saw it on the shelf but never watched it. Now I can watch it without worrying about it being bad. I can watch 10 minutes and be like, no, it's as bad as I feared, and leave it. So Tubi is like when I go to bed, I open Tubi and look for some obscure thing that I don't care if I fall asleep watching it. And so there's some thoughts. I'm apologize. I do not know how to pronounce your name, so I'm not going to try. What do you think of Barry Keoghan? Last in Banshees of Inisherin and The New Joker. Found he was in foster care, lost parents young, and kicked out of school at 16. Got first acting job through a shop ad in 2010. Yeah, I mean, he's one of these up-and-comers that he's gonna be around a long time. And you think he doesn't seem like one of those people that average Joe knows his name yet. But in the last 2 years, he starred in a Marvel movie. He's the new Joker, and he got an acting nomination. Like Oscar nomination. That you want to have like a rounded out resume. That's a good couple of years, and even normal people don't know who you are. They're about to, and you might not know that people might not know the name Barry, but you show them his picture. Like, oh yeah. Everyone knows who he is. So he's like right on the cusp of being like one of the big gigantic actors, and wherever that might take him, maybe he ends up being a longtime character actor. That's just one of these steady players. Everything he's in is better because he's in it. He's always fantastic. Maybe he's not the leading man. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see kind of where that takes him. But also, was it Brian Tice? Blanking on his name. But in the best supporting actor category, 40% of them are Eternals. So, and I said this in my Oscar video. The other Brian, I'm blanking on his full name, but another guy, great couple years of them at the movies. He's the comedic relief in some blockbusters. He's in a Marvel movie. He just got an he got an Oscar nomination. He's doing voice work in Spider-Man and Across the Spider-Verse. That's a great little way to like have a balanced resume where you can get all kinds of roles. True AV20, honest thoughts on The Last of Us if you've seen it. So I've posted shorts of reviewing the first 2 episodes. Like I posted videos sharing my quick thoughts on episode 1 and then episode 2. So I have posted my thoughts about it. But I think it's a pretty incredible first 2 episodes where both of the episodes kick off with these cold opens that kind of set the stage and the tone. And you're like, what's this starting off with like a talk show? What's going on here? And then as this guy's talking, it's this eerie, terrifying discussion of fungus and all that it would take to wipe mankind out. The second episode, you're following someone that's brought in to investigate some of the earliest cases, and just her reaction to what she's discovering and her immediate pessimism just creates this like sinking feeling in your stomach, even though you know already where all of this is going. And it's just background information. And even that's compelling. But right out of the gate, what struck me about The Last of Us, in particular after watching some of these Disney Plus shows from last year, is how big everything felt, how real everything felt. We're in a neighborhood. We're driving through Austin as it's collapsing. We're in this destroyed Boston. We're walking across and everything looks huge. Even when you're in a building, you walk into a building, which inherently is enclosed, it feels big. It feels like they're in real places, real props. You're taken to this destroyed America, and you're living in that space. And then from there, you just kind of get these very complicated, dense characters that they're not archetypes. They don't fit neatly into a box. They're broken people put in a very extreme situation. The design of the zombie-esque creatures, not exactly zombies, but fungus-infected people, are horrifying, creepy, unsettling in ways that, like, I don't like looking at the clickers. Like, they actually weird me out a little bit looking at them with the design that they went with. And that's a good sign when you're doing a horror show like this, that people should be like, I don't like to look at that. And then the hair things that they've added, I don't know what that is, but I hate it. / that's why it's perfect. And so, right, I mean, the show is so emotionally dense. When the action happens, you're on the edge of your seat. You feel the danger, and you feel you're immersed in this broken, destroyed world. That's a good sign. Here's a question. Austin Burke. What is an Austin Burke? If you want to find out for yourself, come and join us at Fan Expo Cleveland in March. You can discover Austin Burke for yourself. Real quick, I'll pause right there and remind you guys, if you join over on Patreon at any level, as little as $2 per month, $20 per year, I do live streams almost every single week. Actually, like right now, I've been doing 2 live streams per week. And last year, I did over 40 live streams. If you enjoy this kind of content, I do it every week on Patreon, except there's only like 10, 15, 20 people in there, so I can respond to every single person. Shoto asks, what's your most anticipated movie of 2023? I put out a video 2 weeks ago with my most anticipated movies. I actually recorded it live at Fan Expo New Orleans. First time I've ever recorded a video live with an audience. So that was very cool. So no reason to answer that question. Go watch that video. It's very cool. And at all these Fan Expos I'm going to be doing, the plan is to record videos for the main channel. So if you want to be present for the recording of a video for this channel, Fan Expo Cleveland, MegaCon, Fan Expo Dallas, those are on Portland next month. Fan Expo Portland next month. Keep it on your radar. Love to meet you. Love to talk about it. Most anticipated show. I meant to do a video on that. I didn't. So let's do the rundown. I think I have notes written down and everything. Actually, that was the panel in New Orleans. I was supposed to talk about this. So I had notes and everything for it. And then I don't talk short about anything, so I won't wait too long. Okie dokie. Uh-oh, that's not good. That note is empty. Where are my notes? Most anticipated. Okay. Most anticipated TV shows of 2023. No particular order. The Return of Yellowstone. I got on the Yellowstone train a couple months back. Excited about that one. Number 9. I don't know why I said number 9 since these are in no particular order. Barry Season 4. Another show. I jumped on that train last year. Cody Leach introduced me to it while I was here. Star Wars The Acolyte. This is a show set like 100, 200 years before Phantom Menace. I'm just curious what that looks like. I've got some reservations about it, but I'm curious. We got X-Men 97. This is a continuation of X-Men, the animated series. I grew up with that show. We got Ahsoka. I'm nervous about Star Wars TV shows in general because they're so inconsistent, but that's a great character to finally put front and center live action. Ted Lasso Season 3. I believe this is the last season. Season 1 of Ted Lasso is a probably a top 3 favorite seasons of television ever for me. I haven't really done a video on it. That's my thoughts on Ted Lasso. Season 1 is is incredible. Number 4, Secret Invasion. Looks like a paranoia thriller in the MCU. Sign me up. Mandalorian season 3. I got reservations about it, but excited for it. Then we got Last of Us. That one's already debuted, and it's as good as we were hoping. And then finally, Justified City Primeval. Justified, it's like a modern day Western with Timothy Olyphant, Walton Goggins, and based off the writings of from Elmore Leonard. Elmore Leonard, is that right? And I actually haven't finished the show yet. So the reason I'm excited about it is it gives me a reason to go back and rewatch all of Justified and finally finish it, because I loved it, but I never finished it. So I can finally do that. There you have it. Out of curiosity, which part of Texas are you from? I'm from San Antonio. I'm in Austin. And I'm in particular, if you want to get real specific, I'm in Hutto, next to Round Rock. Bren, probably this is how long ago it's been since I saw your previous card. On bringing people together across America, hopefully bringing people from across the pond to America, and you can join us for Fantastic Fest. I've got all these big ambitious ideas for the year 2023, and one of them is to get a whole bunch of my YouTube friends to get us to rent a house downtown Austin-ish area. That's where the theater is, where they do Fantastic Fest, and spend a week with my YouTube buddies going to Fantastic Fest, watching cool movies, and do like a big meetup with a bunch of my YouTube friends and audience people showing up and everything. That would be amazing. Can you do a ranking of your top 10 favorite video games? I have. Just search for it. All right. I'm back to 40 minutes behind on these deals. Got to start talking faster. Gaddy, hey Sean, and thank you for the super chat. Is there a movie theme that speaks to you every time with less regard to how good the movie actually is? Love your content. I find you you are the YouTuber I relate to most. Thank you so much. I like stories of becoming. And I say that a lot. That's why I like origin stories. And we're like, I don't want them to retell Superman's origin. I want to read them to retell his favorite origin. I do. I do. Because I love stories of becoming. In particular, stories where people have always felt like they were meant for something more, and then they discover it. So, like, why do I love the movie I'm Not Trying to Unbreakable? Story about this guy that's very sad because he's never known what he's there for. He just feels lost, like he's meant to do something, but he can't figure out what it is. And it turns out he's here to be a superhero. And he's unbreakable. I thought that was always good. And then certain types of redemptive stories of people that really fail and discover the better version of themselves. That normally resonates with me. Recorded entertainment. Hey man, I believe we have met in person a couple of times. Favorite war movie? Braveheart. So I don't know if you're modern day, like a World War II movie, and I don't know what I would go with. Saving Private Ryan, Dunkirk. One of the obvious ones. But favorite of all time, more broadly speaking, Braveheart. Talapanted Toad. I think that's right. Why is Terminator Dark Fate good, but Alien 3 bad? If you haven't seen Alien 3 or Terminator Dark Fate, there's not a way to answer this question without spoiling what happens at the beginning of each of these movies. So I'll try and be delicate about it, but earmuffs. I think it is a fair comparison. I totally understand why a lot of people see the same thing, and that's why they feel betrayed by Terminator Dark Fate. The same way I feel betrayed by Alien 3, feel Terminator, like, I get it. If you feel that way, I understand where you're coming from. What I feel the mythology of Terminator Dark Fate does is that it makes us reinterpret what John Connor did. That John Connor's destiny was to stop the Skynet Cyberdyne apocalypse. And he did. And he did it by redeeming his mother. He did it by the way that he responded to the introduction of the T-800 into his life, the way that he goes and rescues his mother, and the quest that they go on in light of her going after Miles Dyson and what they realize they can do. Because of that, they stop Cyberdyne and Skynet from ever existing. That was his purpose. That was his destiny to save mankind, and he did. And he fulfilled it not after the apocalypse. He stopped the apocalypse from happening. So his destiny was still fulfilled. It doesn't in any way undermine his destiny. So, like, that was the purpose of Terminator 2. The purpose wasn't that John Connor just generically survived. His purpose was to survive so that he could be this great man. But he fulfilled his greatness in the film itself. That's the difference in my mind. The purpose of Aliens was survival. Period. Period. The movie ends. Ripley goes to Newt. Newt says, "Can I dream now?" And she says, "Yes, you can dream. The nightmares are gone," or whatever the final line is. And she goes to sleep. We're good. We did it. And then the beginning of Alien 3 happens and undoes all of that. Everything that Ripley did was meaningless because of what happens at the beginning of Alien 3. The events of Terminator 2 weren't meaningless. He stopped the Skynet Cyberdyne apocalypse. That doesn't mean something else won't happen. Something else does end up happening. That, to me, is what the difference is. And I totally understand why that is not a good enough answer for some of you. Why, I get it. I'm not going to try and convince you otherwise. But I can tell you where I'm coming from, and like my buddy Cody Leach are coming from, what we see that's different in the natures of the plots of Aliens versus Terminator 2 and the plots of Terminator versus Alien 3. That's the difference. John Connor still fulfilled his purpose. He just did it in Terminator 2 rather than after the apocalypse. Foxsmith, which franchise do you prefer more, Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter? Like, they're both in the same kind of category for me of like, I enjoy them well enough. I'm just not a fan like everyone else, but they're like these franchises that are kind of like, it seems like if you like Lord of the Rings, if you like Harry Potter, you love them. And to me, it's like, yeah, they're fine. I enjoy them. I just don't geek out over them the way I geek out over Star Wars and Star Trek, Indiana Jones, Marvel, DC. They're just not ones I resonate with on the same levels I do those other ones. So, and there it's tricky because there's more Harry Potter, and my wife's more into Harry Potter. So, like, Harry Potter's on in my house all the time. Lord of the Rings isn't. So maybe Lord of the Rings isn't as overplayed for me. Lord of the Rings is a more urgent story, where Harry Potter's more of like, let's spend time in this world with these characters. So, I don't know. I don't really have offhand, I don't really have an answer. Those are my thoughts on both of them, though. Sorry, I'm just way far behind on questions, so I'm trying to scroll to catch up and hopefully not miss any super chats, which I almost certainly will do because there's so very many of them in here. 11, have you seen Arcane? No. Have you seen Invincible? I've seen a couple episodes of Invincible. I plan to catch up before season 2. I want to watch it. It's another one that my wife just isn't into. She's ultra violent, super. That's not going to be her thing. And then Invincible is one of those ones that like people discovered it over time. Or like it wasn't like when it debuted, it wasn't like this big event show that everyone was excited about. It was like people were like, oh, this is really good. You should check it out. So by the time I was going to check it out, I was already like 5-6 weeks behind. Zach, I believe you hit a milestone on the internet recently, and I congratulated. Live congratulations. Are there movies you won't watch based off the content that is within them? Human Centipede. I heard the concept of that one. That was a fun, like, I remember it. There's not a lot of movies you remember your first introduction to them, but one of my former students, former interns, and now friends, Michael Wood. If you happen to be watching right now, Michael, I haven't forgotten to send you the files of that song I wrote and recorded that you wanted to hear again. I will send that to you. And as I'm saying that, I'm realizing I just said to 329 people that I have a song I've written and recorded that someone wants to listen to. So I have at least one song that people enjoy. Michael, I will send that to you. But Michael, he comes over and he goes, I made a terrible mistake yesterday. I was at my buddy's house and we made cheesecakes. And then we watched Human Centipede. You should not eat cheesecake while watching Human Centipede. And then I went to and he told me what happens in the movie, and I was disturbed. And I went to my wife and I told her, "You can never learn what happens in this movie. You'll never be the same. I'm trying to protect you. Please don't learn what happened in Human Centipede." And to my knowledge, 12, 13 years later, she still doesn't know the concept of Human Centipede. And if you don't know what it is, you don't want to know. Like a few years back, during my channel, the last 50 Shades movie came out, and I thought I could do a ranking and roast it, but, do I want to watch a movie that's converted Twilight erotic fan fiction? No, I do not. So it's entirely based off the content. Like, I'm not going to cover that. I'm not going to do that. There's some things like that with these sexual content, things that are just overtly exist to be mainstream porn. So there's definitely some things that I won't watch and won't cover. Got a super chat from Juan from Wembley, Texas. Woo! Texas. Will you rank the Hills Have Eyes movies? If a new one comes out, I'll watch them and rank them. If they get included in a 31 on 31, I'm totally on board for it. If I just totally rank them out of the blue, the video would do bad. That's the reality. Like, when I just do like a out of the blue ranking, they don't do well. I'm almost an hour behind on questions at this point. Graham Newark with the super chat. Thank you so much. Are you a big fan of The Boys? It's being filmed in my city right now. It's so fresh on the mind. If so, favorite character, favorite episode. Yeah, so I've watched seasons 1 and 2. And I have reviews on my channel of them. I started to watch season 3, and I think they dropped 3 episodes or 2 episodes at the beginning. So I watched whatever the ones I watched the first week, and I just wasn't game for it. If you've seen season 3, you know what happens in the first 15 minutes of episode 1. It's like, right now, do I want to go down this path? No, I do not. No, I do not. So I didn't watch season 3. I just wasn't in the mood for that level of intensity. I've had a lot of fun with it. When I'm in the mood for something extreme, it offers that. There's a lot of interesting, compelling things and interesting takes on superheroes and how that would really play out. I don't have a favorite episode. I don't know, favorite character. I'd have to stop and think about it. Homelander's a great character that you love to hate. Butcher's of course a ton of fun, but I don't know offhand. I don't normally have favorites if I haven't really thought about it. Jacob with the super chat. Thank you much. Do you watch football, soccer? See, you can tell that he didn't mean American football based off that little number or little pound sign deal next to the 2. No, I don't. I don't really watch any sports. I watch the Super Bowl. That's about all the sports that I watch. I just don't have time. Like, same reason I can't really play video games and get invested. I just can't watch all the movies I need to watch and do all of this. It's just more than I can do. The question I get all the time, have you seen The Chosen? Have you watched it? God bless. I haven't yet. I've had so many people request I watch it. I actually have the first season back there on Blu-ray. I just haven't been able to watch it yet. And I need to. I just need to sit down and pick a time to just go for it. But yeah. So you had a super chat come in, but there was no text with it. So I'll try and be on the lookout for that name. Have you played Red Dead Redemption? No, I haven't. I downloaded it. I bought it, downloaded it, and haven't actually really played. There's a lot of games like Witcher 3, Guardians of the Galaxy. There's so many games. Gotham Knights. I've spent money like, I'm going to play this. And then I ended up just wasting large amounts of money. That's the plague of being a grown-up. You have the disposable income to buy all the games and the instrument gear that you want, all the fun toys you always wanted, and then you don't have the time. I've been watching Sean for years. He always talks about Bloodsport, and I've yet to see it this whole time. How dare you? How dare you, sir? Why are you watching this guy when you could be watching Jean-Claude Van Damme jump up in the air, go into the splits, and kick Chong Li in the face. I was about to say Tong Po, but that is the guy that he kicks in the face with the splits in Kickboxer. But it's if you like tournament fighters, if you like, it's a classic. Very cheesy, very very 80s, but it's a classic. Carter, have you seen Lost? If so, what are your brief thoughts? It's my favorite show. Yeah, so I did a video on my favorite TV shows of all time. Lost is in a category in there. Season 1 of Lost is one of the best seasons of television everywhere. Just so compelling, so different, so strange. And the way that it slowly reveals information about the characters through the flashbacks. No show has built intrigue the way that show did. And season 2 and 3 still really, really good. Kind of lost me in the last few seasons. Like, I don't have any interest in really rewatching seasons 4, 5, and 6 ever again. And clearly they didn't have a good end in mind, so they kind of cheated where they introduced new stuff at the beginning of the last season so they could have a ending for that. But yeah, it kind of lost me. But the first season's phenomenal. Have you seen Cloverfield? I have a Cloverfield ranking, and I talk about it in my ranking of Matt Reeves movies. Another super chat without a question. Thank you so much for the super chat. All right. Looks like I'm getting closer to catching up. Still way far behind, but I'm trying to scroll real fast without missing a super chat. Thoughts on What We Do in the Shadows? This question's been here 1,000 times. I haven't seen it. Taika Waititi has a new movie coming out this year, a soccer movie. I plan on watching all of his films and doing a ranking at that point in time. So this should be the year that happens. Something related to Saw. And we have a Saw-related question. How would you continue the Saw franchise story? It's tough to do off the top of your head. Because it's coming up with a pitch for a movie. In my mind, I say let it rest and start over. But I don't even like it. Like, I don't know that besides aesthetically feeling 20 years old, the first Saw on a story level is aged perfectly fine. But I think they got themselves in trouble because Jigsaw, John Kramer's, he's like the most compelling, interesting character. The guy that has this thought, this worldview of what he's trying to do with these games and with these people. And I don't want to spoil anything, but it became more difficult to put him in the movies as the franchise went along. And I think that kind of shot them in the foot because it just felt like we're stretching this thing out and there's not enough material there to make it work. So, once he's not there, then you like the guy that took over in the last of the original run, that guy that was there kept trying to catch him, and he just wasn't nearly as interesting. He's just not an interesting character, but he was the guy that replaced Jigsaw, and so I just didn't. That hurt the franchise a lot, and I think some of the kind of revivals of the last 5 years have found okay ways to continue, and they've been decent, but I don't have an offhand good pitch for what to do. My normal default kind of feeling is like, after this much time, maybe it's worth it to maybe it's time to like pause for 10 years and at the 30-year mark, let's start over. B-Force Gaming, thoughts on the ending of Django Unchained? I guess, I haven't watched the movie in a few years. I think I've seen it 3-4 times. I don't know specifically what you're referring to. If you're talking about the big bloodbath when the shootout begins and people getting taken out, or if there's something more, because I don't know specifically what you're talking about with the question. It's a great Tarantino film. I love Westerns. Tarantino bringing his magic to Westerns. Of course, you get a lot of fun that comes with that. And then when you have a revenge movie set with slaves, watching horrible slave owners being shot in the face and die horrible deaths, that's very satisfying. Without wanting to go into spoilers, what they do with Christoph Waltz's character, the way that unfolds, just some nice Tarantino brilliance. I know that I think that was it Will Smith that was originally supposed to star in it, and he literally didn't take the role, I believe, over the decision to have Christoph Waltz be the one that does what happens there. Um, I don't know. The way that plays out, that is so satisfying that I get why you would want Django to be the one that does it, but what they did, I don't wouldn't want to change that. And a lot of you guys want me to talk about Soups. I don't know the guy. I don't have enough to say about it. Everything to say. If you could have a superpower, what would it be? Flight. Flight would be very cool. Titus, I know you in real life. Yeah, you need to tell me a movie that's coming out that you want me to take you to a press screening. I'm your biggest fan. You know me. This is a guy I put on a mattress when he was in middle school and did mattress jousting and almost broke his neck, which is pretty amazing. I'm your biggest fan. Here's $5. Are you? And I saw him when I went voting. Are you excited for Scream 6? I really enjoyed the last movie, and I hope Stu comes back. Do you want me to take you to Scream 6 when it comes out at the press screening? Well, there we have it. Maybe the question itself answers my question. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Scream is my favorite horror franchise. Scream is my favorite horror movie. And it's a horror franchise with a tremendous track record. If your worst horror movie is Scream 3, if that's as bad as it gets, you're doing great. I really enjoyed the last one. There's a few things with kind of reflection that I really wish they'd done a couple things different with it that kind of bug me. And maybe when I rewatch it, it'll move down in my ranking. But overall, I thought it was a great legacy sequel while commenting on legacy sequels that set up some new characters that I'm interested in. I know a lot of people are nervous about Neve Campbell not returning. I'm not. I think that's the right call, that the franchise probably should move on. Like, I don't think the franchise needs to be about Sidney Prescott. And I think that limits it. When you have to find a way for the same character to show back up. You can't move the story forward. So I'm for this idea of all this. Top 3 favorite Breaking Bad verse characters. Jimmy McGill. Such a great character. I don't think I could pick 3. Obviously Walter White and Jesse are just all very, like, all of our leads are super compelling. Lalo, what a phenomenal villain. Of just like a guy that is so affable and like comes off friendly while being terrifying at the same time. And you can tell he loves what he's doing. There's a bunch of people that like love the power and the money, but they don't specifically like killing people. Lalo loves all of it. That guy, what a character. What a great character. And phenomenal performance from Tony Dalton of just like being so charming and terrifying at the same time. There's so many good ones. Mike, of course, is fantastic. Gus is a classic. I don't know. That's the thing about, Hank. What a, like, I wanted to spoil too much, but, his final line in the show, what a great final line. All right, I got 16 minutes, so I got to play catch up on where we at on here. Got to catch up on 40 minutes of questions. Straight on an island, but can only take with you one of each of the following: beverage, food, movie, album, weapon. I don't know, weapon. I don't know. I'd probably want like a very, very, very sturdy axe, because you can use it to cut down trees, as well as it's a good blunt weapon if you're attacked, that you can swing it and hurt something. Beverage, because water. Like I prefer my soda dramatically, but now that we're just trying to survive, I probably would go with water. Food, I don't know. I get one. I'm not trying to think in survival mode. Is like you're asking in like what would you enjoy? I don't know. Coke. I don't know. I like soda, but I like a variety. But not could be Dr Pepper too. Food. That's sort of like what do I want to eat over and over and over again? I like my meats and I like my seafood. So, steak, shrimp, fish, salmon. Movie. I don't know. Let's go. My favorite. Terminator 2. Album. I don't know. That's really tough. Like, what music do I want to listen to over and over and over again? And I just that's tough because I want different things for different times. In bands have very specific vibes for specific times. So I don't know. Like my brain's going to like Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers' Greatest Hits. Not because that's my favorite album, but because it's the sort of thing I can be in the mood for it in a variety of times, and it's got some upbeat songs, it's got some slower songs. But like I don't like that answer, but that's where my brain goes. So that's a tough one. Those are all tough ones, except the axe. The axe, I think I'm pretty. Maybe someone have something better answer. A super chat from Owen without a question. Thank you, Owen. I believe we talk on the Twitter pretty frequently. Matt G, I think the 80s were the best decade for film. If you like a specific type of blockbusters, the 80s are the best. And I'd probably agree with you. Yeah, like, if you look at my favorite movies, it's like from 1975 to like 1991. Mostly the 80s. It's a very specific vibe of popcorn entertainment that I love. But if you're talking about cinema in the Scorsese sense, maybe you go with a different one. Do you plan on watching The Boys Season 3 anytime soon? Not anytime soon, but I plan on watching it. I don't know when. Like, probably whenever the new season... maybe it will be soon because they got that new show coming out that's the spinoff. Maybe I'll watch it for that. Favorite Call of Duty game? The one that I played the most, or at least back in the day, was the original Modern Warfare. These days, I play Modern Warfare 3 the most. Or I guess like for 10 years, that's the one that I've had in. I do survival mode with my wife, or at least we used to. Do you answer questions you didn't answer afterwards in the comment section? I mean, I'll look at the comment section and I'll answer a few, but there's hundreds. It would take hours and hours. Look how long-winded I am, and that's with me talking. So imagine how much longer it would take me to answer them. Happen. Could you rank the Birdemic movies on April 1st? I've seen I was at the world premiere of Birdemic 3 with the cast and the director. It was a midnight screening at Fantastic. So I was there for the first audience to see Birdemic 3. No, there's nothing to rank. They're just very bad movies. It's novelty, but it's not. There's nothing to evaluate. Should I watch Creed 3? Well, you should watch all the Rocky movies and the first two Creed movies and then watch Creed 3. But I haven't seen Creed 3, so I can't. That's not a recommendation based off having seen the film. That's just to say the Rocky franchise is one of my favorite franchises. I think the Creed movies are a good continuation. There is some controversy over Creed 3 because Stallone, the inventor of the Rocky franchise, is not going to watch it. So there's a lot of people that won't watch the film for that reason. And I understand that. Favorite Liam Neeson thriller from the past 2 years? None of them. And I like Liam Neeson thrillers, but he hasn't had a good run the last 2 years. Tiger Dean with the super chat. Thank you so much. Hey, Sean, long-time listener, first-time caller. Awesome. My all-time favorite movie is Nightcrawler with Jake Gyllenhaal. Have you seen? What do you think? Great thriller. And I don't believe he was nominated for an Best Actor for that movie, which is that he didn't win is a crime. If he wasn't nominated, it's almost offensive. Just a phenomenal performance and just real interesting idea about what if someone that was a sociopath was trying to make it in the news, and so it starts inventing the news so he can get there first to capture the news, to sell the news, just like one of those stories where the protagonist, our lead character, is not the hero of the story. He's the villain. And so if you haven't seen Nightcrawler, great little thriller, phenomenal Jake Gyllenhaal performance of just like, he just disappears into this creepy guy. What do you think of Superman and Lois? I've talked about it. I've done a bunch of videos about Superman and Lois. I'm a fan of it, but I don't want to spend too much time on it since I've done videos on it. You can just Sean Chandler Superman and Lois, and a bunch of videos should pop up. And I did believe I did full season reviews for both of the first 2 seasons. What are your thoughts on if Grant Gustin were to cameo in the Flash movie? I love the content. Been watching since 2019. Hey, thank you so much for the super chat. Excuse me. Thank you so much for watching. What do I think if Grant Gustin were to cameo in the Flash film? I'd be totally for it. Because they've already opened that door. If you don't know, they did Crisis on Infinite Earths in Arrowverse, and Ezra Miller showed up for like 30 seconds in an episode of that. And so they've made it clear through Arrowverse that they got a multiverse thing going on. And so if you're going to do what they're doing here, where you have Ben Affleck as well as Michael Keaton showing up, why wouldn't you have Grant Gustin show up? If you're going to like be maybe the plot doesn't open that door, but if the plot itself like has a context where it makes sense, and we know there's multiple Flashes in it, we know there's multiple Batman in it, we know there's a Supergirl in it. I think that's right. It's been so much like this thing's been in production and delayed and reshoots. Maybe we're getting things mixed up, but there's definitely multiple versions of these characters. Why wouldn't you? I don't want to go too far down that path, but it's the context where a cameo makes sense and be cool. Red Rocks, I'll do one better. How is Austin Burke? So if you last year Austin and I did a Fan Expo Philadelphia together. You don't know, I'm going to be at Fan Expo Portland next month, and then in March I'll be at Fan Expo Cleveland with Austin Burke as well as John Flickinger, announced in this live stream. Then MegaCon the week after that. Did this one with Austin Burke last year, and I miscalculated the distance between where he lives and where Philadelphia is, where we did the Fan Expo. So I flew into where he was, stayed at a house for a few days, drove up to Philadelphia, drove back. It's a 12-hour drive. I don't know how maps work. I didn't look into it. And he just told me yes, and so we ended up doing this 12-hour drive. That was so fun. That was like the most fun 12-hour car ride I've ever had. It was 2 of them. Both of them just so much fun. Riding with Austin Burke. He's just as fun as you'd think. He's probably maybe more mischievous than you'd think, and so am I. And so we're just like, yeah, it was so much fun. Really, really great guy. I need to finish in like 10 minutes, and I'm 30 minutes behind. Vishal, any chances of Cavill returning or continuing of Snyderverse at HBO Max? No. It's clearly that's not the direction they're going. If they're at the point where they're canceling a completed Batgirl movie that was going to go to HBO Max, and maybe it was going to go to theaters, and then it could have gone to HBO Max. If they're canceling a completed movie, they're not going to do anything like that. Liam, which film where an outsider becomes one with a land indigenous people is your favorite? Mine is Last Samurai. So if you don't know what they're referring to, it's the Avatar story. The broken soldier gets sucked into the more primitive tribe and then joins them to battle the more technologically advanced society. Dances with Wolves, Ferngully, Pocahontas, Last Samurai, Avatar. Last Samurai is my favorite. It's mine too. Stars Tom Cruise and Ken Watanabe. Came out about 20 years ago. It's a great film. That I think some of it is it's different enough. Like Dances with Wolves also has the Civil War guy goes in and joins with the Native Americans, and so this one is Civil War guy goes with the samurai. But because it's like so many of these stories have been with Native Americans, it has a specific like they feel very similar. And that's like the Na'vi. Very obviously, that's where the inspiration is. That's what Dances with Wolves is. That's what Pocahontas is. This one it's a different culture, so it even while it has a lot of the same beats, it feels totally different. Has awesome action, and I mean Tom Cruise. If you stop there, like how many movies has Tom Cruise been in that are bad? That guy delivers. He commits, and he's been doing that all along. And so I totally agree with you. Last Samurai. What's your workout routine? So when I go to the gym with a buddy of mine normally. I don't have necessarily one. So if I go with my buddy, I normally kind of do whatever he does, and it's a little bit tricky because I think I'm like 40 pounds heavier than him, and so we're kind of a little bit tricky to like lift appropriately when I'm just a much larger person in terms of like weightlifting sorts of stuff. Like he's in much better shape than me, like just like proportions, body fat. Like even my buddy Andy, that's in some of my videos, he'll be at Fan Expo Portland. He's going with me to Portland for that one. He like I'm also like 40 pounds heavier than him. That guy's jacked, but I'm just like have more size to me. And so then we kind of go along with it. And so I normally do more like higher reps in kind of those contexts. If it's just me working out and I'm kind of controlling it, I normally do chest and shoulders one day, back and biceps one day, and legs another day, and try and work out each major body group once per week, lift heavy, and then I normally will try and do like 10 reps first, add a little weight, 8 reps, add a little bit more. And if I can safely do it, like I'll try and just do something that I can only do for 2 reps, like just have some volume, but slowly build towards just using the full muscle. That's what I tend to try to do. Thoughts on Dredd? It's great. It's a great little self-contained movie. It's the Raid with Dredd. It's very cool. What is your favorite Pokemon? I don't have one. I've never been into Pokemon. My kids are obsessed with it. Like right now, they just discovered Pokemon YouTubers, and so every day they're watching these Pokemon YouTubers, and this one evolves into this one. And like, is this what some of your parents think about me when I'm ranking movies? Like, just talking about Pokemon. I don't know. I don't know anything about it. Have you watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? I've watched the first 12 episodes 3 times, but no, I've never watched it. I've never watched through it. I've just watched, like, people ask me all the time. I've watched the first 12 episodes, but I just can't get into it. Thoughts on Star Trek Generations? I thought it was a good bridge between the OG crew and Next Generation, other than Kirk's death. Well, if you know my Twitter handle, it's Kirk Never Died. Now you know where it came from. It has some fun moments. I think it's like a very forced plot, and they're forcing it, and they created to bridge it and pass the baton, and in doing so, they did it at the cost of having a terrible death for the face of the franchise. Like, it's just not. This is not a good way to end out that character. There's things in it I like. There's things that are kind of cool. It's great to see Kirk and Picard actually interact. I don't think it's a good bridge. It is a bridge, and therefore there's a novelty that I enjoy. But finding like having that as the canonical end to Kirk's destiny, a bridge collapses. Yeah, not a fan of that. But I have a Star Trek ranking. I've got a bunch of Star Trek rankings. One was just a year or two back, and that would have my more articulated thoughts that were planned out. Have you played Horizon Zero Dawn Robot Dinosaurs? No, I don't actually know what that game is. I don't. So I have no knowledge. I wish I had a better answer. I'm sorry, but thank you for the super chat. Have you played Fortnite Chapter 4? Yeah, we're a Fortnite family. So since December 2021, our whole family, including my wife, are really into Fortnite. We've got a zillion skins. Actually, on Patreon, my top tier at $25 a month is a video chat with me. Sometimes people are like, can we just play Fortnite? And I play Fortnite with people, and we just talk about movies while I play Fortnite. But yeah, I mean, I was playing yesterday. Actually, if you follow me on Instagram, I one of my stories on there. I guess I can just do this. You can't see that. Actually, maybe, can I hide my face? If I do that, will it? I wonder if I can do this. If I hide my face, will it zoom in on that? It didn't work. I thought maybe if I could trick it. There, it worked. Look, you can't really tell, but it's a victory royale. That was last night. My son and I got one. So I haven't had a solo victory in the new season. I'm not crazy about the new season. The engine upgrade is great. I just was so used to the old island that I just can't get used to this new one in my old age. But my wife, she's doing it. My wife is probably better at Fortnite than me because she's cautious enough. I'm probably like Liam's the best shooter and by far the best builder. I'm probably the best strategy person of like, let's think through this. But Jennifer's just so cautious about things that she does really well. Like she like has got in the last couple weeks gotten like double crowns and almost got double crowns on 2 different accounts in the same day. Callum Sharp, on average, how many films do you watch in a week? I believe last year I watched like 350 movies, so it's about one per day, so 7 per week. 2021, I think I was at 500 movies, so it was like 10 or 12 per week. Kind of depends on the year, but I watch about a movie a day. And I'm tracking behind this year. This year I'm only at what we're 28 days in. Actually, at the time I need to stop. 28 days in, and I've watched about 15 movies. Do you plan on watching Chucky season 3? I didn't watch Chucky season 2, so unless I hear it's great, no. And I did not hear good things about Chucky season 2 at all. Have you seen Hollow Man? Yeah, it's Paul Verhoeven kind of at the end of his Hollywood run. I mean, I saw it in the theater when it came out. I've seen it a few more times, so it's good enough. I don't think it's as good as... It's not as interesting or as memorable as RoboCop, Total Recall, Starship Troopers. Darth Sidious 32. What are your thoughts on the future of the Halloween franchise? Where do you think it should go, or just let it die? Just let it die. For 10 years. And then let's start over. There's a lot of these ones where, like, if you wait, just, 5 years? 5 years, it'll be 50. 50. And doing a hard reboot at 50, and it's also it would be 20 years after the previous reboot. Maybe do something like that, but I don't like finding some excuse to continue the current. I don't like that. Like continuing any of the current timelines that are out there. I don't like any of that. So I think you wait several years. 50th anniversary is a good time to do it, I suppose. So maybe just 5 years and then hard reboot. Bashar, hi Sean, please review more Bollywood films. I hope to. I plan to. And when I reviewed Three Idiots, when I reviewed RRR, people you guys, you showed up, you watched the videos. They did really well. Sometimes I get scared of kind of doing something outside the box because like maybe like just won't do well. And that has not been the case. My RRR review did great numbers. So, and I, obviously love the film. So that is very much on my radar to try and do a better job. Not and seeing them in the theater is one thing I really want to do. Like I meant to see RRR in the theater. Like I saw it with like a poster at the theater and everything, and it's like I don't know how that'll be. And obviously, it turned out to be this movie that has been this tons of people talking about it. So I very much hope to. Like even this week, I know what movies are playing, which Bollywood, Hollywood films are playing at my local theater, and watch the trailers for them. But my wife was out of town, so we didn't go see it. Sad, we'll never see Channing Tatum Gambit film. Thank you for the super chat. Yeah, it's for years and years and years and years, Channing Tatum was supposed to be Gambit, and then it didn't happen. Didn't happen. So, oh well. Hey Sean, have you seen Fletch with Chevy Chase? To me, it's a great comedy. I have, but it was over 20 years ago, so I don't have anything interesting I can say about it. Tom, you should watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm like I've tried so many times. And everyone tells me, get past episode 18. That's the cross or point in time where it crosses paths with Winter Soldier and everything changes and it gets better after. Like, I've heard it. I've heard it, but it didn't. I just don't. That's such an investment to try and make it work. What's your favorite? What's your MCU fan cast? I have a video on that. You can just go watch the video. It's several years old, so it probably would be different now. I'd probably throw like Glenn Powell in there as Human Torch or something like that. He's maybe a little bit too old to do that, but there's some stuff like that. But I have a video on that. Ever seen the show Justified? Actually, we talked about it in this live stream. Someone asked me my most anticipated TV shows, and the new season is one of mine. I haven't finished it. I've seen the first season many times, and then I've watched some of the rest of it through like season 4, but I don't have cable, and so there wasn't an easy way to watch it. So I've never seen the whole show, and this could be the context to get to watch it. So what I've seen of it, I've really enjoyed. Christopher Ard, what's your favorite Kirk Cameron movie? Assumption being that I have seen multiple Kirk Cameron films. I don't know if I've seen a Kirk Cameron film. If you don't know who this is, if you know Candace Cameron Bure from Full House, this is her brother, and he was also an '80s sitcom star. And over the last 25 years, he's like a very outspoken Christian, makes Christian movies, starred in the first adaptation of Left Behind, and he's just known for very loud, in-your-face Christian opinions. I haven't seen his movies to be able to say anything more specific than that. Nolan, have you ever watched Doctor Who? I have seen series 1 of the current rendition that started with 2005 or whatever, and I've seen Torchwood series 3. I'm not really a big fan of it. Just didn't gel with the vibe, and some people have told me, oh, you got to watch with this Doctor, and it's much better. And maybe you're right. Maybe if I watched a little bit more, got to a different one of the dudes, I would be down for it. What are your thoughts on Velma? I posted a video on it. Just look up Sean Chandler Velma. It's on my Sean Chandler Plus channel. If you like this kind of content, the Sean Chandler Plus channel, I've been posting little snippets of me answering questions all month. I post like 20, 25 clips over there. One of them was on Velma. It's terrible. Along those same lines, what do you think of the new Star Trek series? If you're talking about Star Trek Strange New Worlds, I posted a review over on my second channel. I also talked about it, my favorite TV shows of the year. I didn't think it was perfect or anything, but it was absolutely a step in the right direction. Like a really enjoyable show. Picard, Discovery, not so much. Not at all. How would you rank the Friday the 13th films? I did a ranking of them, essentially a 31 on 31. It was actually 33 on 31 back in October, but I also did a ranking of them just by themselves several years back. So the most recent thoughts on them are just a couple months back, and I watched all the special features, very in-depth little deal, just a couple months back in October. Well, if you watch my video on Velma, I literally say in my Velma review, Velma makes She-Hulk look like Schindler's List. Just go watch my video over on my second channel, though. I have a lot of things to say about it. Favorite metal bands? 80s Metallica, Pantera. I don't know that I'll have, I'm not going to probably have too many deep cuts for you. So, you're talking about metal bands. Oh, I like Metallica. Generic and non-interesting answers you can give. And Pantera, these are the most popular, most mainstream thrash bands that ever existed. But you can also define metal a lot of different ways. So it's a little bit of a tough question because are you talking about, you get into my high school era was new metal with the down-tuned guitars to B and drop B tuning and rap thrown in the mix. But off the top of my head, I'm going to give the boring answers. What platform do you use to edit your videos? I'm in the process of finding one outside of Adobe that works for me the way Adobe does. I use Adobe. That's all I've ever used. I started editing with Adobe 20 years ago. It was 20 years ago this month I first bought Adobe. That's all I've really ever used. So, and I do my thumbnails in Photoshop. I'm very much an Adobe person, and I have very little experience with products outside of Adobe. Trying to decide on a movie to see this afternoon. Two different vibes, but in your opinion, Puss in Boots or Infinity Pool? Well, I haven't seen Infinity Pool. Puss in Boots is great. It's not just two different vibes, polar opposite vibes. Kinky sex movie with Skarsgård wearing a leather collar, whatever that means, trippy, weird, whatever that is, and then Puss in Boots is just like a great family film. Great animated film that my kids loved, and I thought was great too. I don't have any interest in Infinity Pool. You're asking the question, so apparently you have some interest. So maybe you should go see it and let us know if who this movie is for. but I don't have interest in it. I've just been reading the Twitter reactions, which have been very amusing. Thanks for doing this channel. You're welcome. If you guys don't know, I have a second channel called Sean Chandler Plus. I post clips and stuff like this. I'll be posting clips from this live stream over there this next week. If you join on Patreon at any level, I do these live streams every week over there. So you can check those out, like $2 per month, $20 per year. Gamer Price, do you plan on watching Last of Us, and will you do a review? I've posted quick reviews, short reviews of the first 2 episodes on my channel, like on my main channel. I posted videos the day after the initial episodes dropped. And I think I'll be on Cody Leach's channel on Monday talking about the first 3 episodes on a live stream Monday night. I think that's happening. Hey Sean, how do you get movie clips into your video editing software? How do you take steps to avoid copyrights? Love your channel. Thank you so much for watching. And I download all of my clips off YouTube. Literally, almost everything that I use is just downloading clips off of YouTube. That's the way I do it. So some of them, they'll even still have like movieclips.com's logos in the corners and stuff like that. I just get them off YouTube. And I use software called, what is this called? It's literally, the name is very descriptive of the product. Where is it? 4K video downloader. That says exactly what it is. It's a video downloader for YouTube. 4K video downloader. That's what I use to download them. How do I avoid copyright issues? Some of it is knowing which studios are copyright crazy. So, for example, Paramount and Universal are very quick to claim things. So when I review their movies, I try to use fewer clips and shorter clips to avoid getting in trouble. Across the board, whenever I just kind of put the B-roll trailer clips on my videos, I try and keep it under 5 seconds. So just 4 seconds long is what I aim for. If I use a video clip that has audio, then I try to, if it's long, I'll put like a film strip over it. I'll frequently cut it into like 3 spots, and then I'll do each of them at a different speed. I don't know if that works, but it's what I do. So I'll do the first part at 102% speed, next one 103% speed, and the next one 101% speed. So it just maybe confuses it a little bit. That seems to work. But the big rule of thumb is that YouTube is the wild, wild west. They don't have set rules. They don't have clear criteria. And if you use someone else's footage, it might get claimed. So the less you use, the better. And be cautious about who you use footage from. And anything with music will get claimed. Like trailers from Disney. Disney doesn't claim your trailer reactions, but the people whose music it is, they might claim it. So knowing stuff like that, just kind of going into it, knowing what might get claimed and avoiding playing music in particular. Be very, very careful with Paramount and Universal. That's the best I got for you. And I'll answer a couple quick ones on here, and then I'm going to hop on out. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope to do more of these. And people keep asking me about my podcast. Even this live stream right now is a test to see if it works. And podcasts could be returning very soon. Who do you think makes the Super Bowl? I don't even know who's in contention. I don't follow it at all. Are you going to see the new Mario movie? Of course. I did my most anticipated movies a couple weeks back. It was in there. Thoughts on Rings of Power show? I posted videos about it. You can just check those out. Like, on a lot of your questions, just type in the search bar Sean Chandler and then Rings of Power, Velma. I've talked about a lot of things across my many different channels. Can you do a new top 10 superhero comic movies list? That's what was supposed to come out today. That, like, my wife was out of town, so I couldn't create videos as easily. I've got the notes open on my computer. I've got the list in the works. I was writing it yesterday. I think that comes out Monday. So it'll be top 20. And I'll actually do 10 more on Patreon, but it'll be my top 20, not just top 10. That's coming. You're reading my mind. You are correct. That it is happening. It is in the works. It is being written. D, thanks for the super chat. Hey, how hyped are you for Daredevil Born? I'm hyped, but I'm worried. What are you looking for in the show? Who do you think do you think John Bernthal's Punisher will return? Possibly Midnight Suns. I'm with you. I'm excited because I loved the original run. I'm super worried because I don't trust the Disney. I just don't trust them. Their shows aren't good enough. compared to the original. Like, some of them are good. I've enjoyed a lot of them. I've talked about them. Those are my thoughts. But I've also said, like, they haven't figured out the structure quite right. And they went from struggling with 6 episodes to this is 18 episodes. I don't know what that means. That they're not bringing back the original showrunner and writers. It sounds like Karen Page and Foggy aren't coming back. Those are red flags for me. So I want to love it. I want to be excited, but it's tough for me to trust Disney to properly continue the show. I don't know how it's going to change, and that's frustrating. And do I think John Bernthal's Punisher will return? I would, if I was doing over under 50%, I think I would go under. At some point, he could show up in some capacity, but specifically for the show, I'm not sure. Will you do a who's most likely to die in Guardians 3? I think I will. What are your favorite bands? Do you know Radiohead? Of course. I recently started rewatching Breaking Bad because it hits different after watching Better Call Saul. Yeah, it absolutely does. Yeah, I mean, so I was in high school in the 90s and in college in the early zeros, so Radiohead was the band for everyone. All of us that were still in our pretentious phase, we all loved Radiohead. I don't like to pick favorite bands because I'll say a name of a band that I love their stuff in the 90s and I haven't listened to anything they've put out in 15 years. But all those disclaimers out there, Smashing Pumpkins, Tom Petty, Weezer, Metallica, Hello Goodbye, Say Anything. I don't know. I listened to a lot of stuff from like 1980 to 2005. So the first 25 years of my life, the music in my formative years, all kinds of different genres. I love a bunch of stuff in there. Pop, rock, pop punk, emo, metal, all kinds of stuff in that very broad category. Have you seen Sandman? No. Have you watched Chainsaw Man? No. And what's your favorite TV show? I have a video on that. All right, I got to take off. I've got a Patreon phone call 2 minutes ago. Whoops, I wasn't watching the time and went too far. If you don't know, if you join on Patreon at any level, I do these live streams every week. I did over 40 of them last year. I've done already 5 or 6 of them just in January, and I'm going to do another one in about 40 minutes over there. Join any level. $2, $20 per year, $2 per month, $20 per year. You gain access to all of those. There's 15, 20 people in there answer everybody's questions. So if you like these, if you want your answer question, join on Patreon any level. You can have your questions answered. $5 per month, you get your name on the end card. $25 a month, you get a video chat with me. I've got one of those that I'm late to because I went a little bit too long on here. Keep answering your questions. What's your favorite episode of The Office? The dinner's great. The injury's great. Something in the first 4 seasons. Definitely nothing in the later seasons. What's your favorite DC movie? I did a video ranking all 45 DC movies just a couple years back. Just go check that one out. Thank you guys so much for watching. Consider joining on Patreon. The link is down below in the description. And keep talking movies and TV way too much. Bye-bye.